Huijsen to Real Madrid is complete. Gyokeres' contract with Arsenal. Big reports this morning that it is agreed. The Rodrygo latest as well, plus Man City and their first official bid for Reijnders. We're going through all those stories this morning. We want your views. We want your opinions. But hit the like button first of all. Before you do anything else, get that hit. Make sure you are subscribing to the Football Terrace as well and get that bell notification turned on so you stay up to date with everything going on this summer. But the first story, we have to start there. A huge update from Fabrizio Romano, and he understands that Dean Huijsen has now signed his contract as a new Real Madrid player. Deal complete. Different from a done deal. All signed. Also between the clubs for Bournemouth, and they will receive £50 million. That is the buyout clause. Contract will run until June 2030. Medical done yesterday in London. Huijsen will be ready to play at the FIFA Club World Cup. And just like that, it's done. Madrid signing such a talented, such a starlet. There's so much quality in Dean Huijsen. Yes, I've seen some compilations of mistakes. That's just the horrible, toxic world that we now live in. But this young man has it all. Size, strength. He can read the game brilliantly at such a young age. Excellent on the ball. An eye for goal as well from a defender, which is something that's very, very important. And for £50 million, yes, to you and to I, the working classes of this world, that is an obscene amount of money. But from a footballing point of view, not so much. From a footballing perspective, it represents decent business for the potential and the longevity that this young man could have. And you have to just say, well done to Real Madrid. It was only a week or so ago that a lot of the noise coming out of the camp of Huijsen is it was more likely that he was going to stay in England. That took a massive U-turn. Madrid got the business done. It's why they're the biggest club in the world. They've got the pull. They obviously want to have a big reaction to missing out on La Liga this year. Alonso is coming in, and Huijsen, probably along with a few others, is going to be a big addition to their squad. But I'd love to get your opinions on that in the comment section below, people. The other news that Fabrizio has put out today relates to Reijnders. He says here that City are preparing an offer of €50 million to sign in. The club considers him the perfect number 8. What's your thoughts? I'll give you a little bit of time to write your thoughts, collect your thoughts. You're obviously watching this on playback. Again, I don't want to sound like I'm overhyping all these signings, but there is the potential for this to be sensational. Yes, AC Milan are not a particularly great side, but he as an individual is brilliant. And the midfield, the engine room that is the Man City midfield, this season took a nosedive. You know, Kovacic is a good player, but aging. Gundogan, aging. Rodri obviously missing the majority, if not all, of the campaign. That midfield took a real pounding. Yes, there were some youngsters that probably should have got more game time at City, but they really did lack experience, know-how, quality, physicality, and a threat. And with KDB leaving, the jury is certainly out right now on Foden's future. It's been a bad season. The club, and the fact they're looking at Wirtz as well and Gibbs-White alongside Reijnders tells you they are not fully convinced that in a central area, Phil Foden is the guy. And now I'm not playing down what he's done before. I'm not one of those people. But there could also be a need in the space of the next 12 months to move on Phil Foden. So bolstering that midfield, those central areas, is so key and so important to Manchester City. And look, 50 million euros. What are we looking at? What's that in the current exchange rate? What is that going to come in? That's about £42 million. It just represents fantastic business. And I will say that about this market, the transfer market this summer, there's lots of players available. 42 million for Reijnders, 28 million, I think it is, for Jeremy Frimpong, £62 million for a Prem-proven player in Cunha at the peak of his powers. A lot of players available for free and with very good buyout clauses. it's going to be a bit of a mammoth transfer window. I really do believe that. But the bids coming in, City fans, what do you feel about this? I would love to ascertain your opinions right now in the comment section below. Get them in, please, people. But it does appear that is a serious move that City are working on, and the bid is imminent. Now, moving forward, I want to speak about a particular player that is linked to Arsenal. Everybody is speaking about it, and it is Rodrygo. You can see his numbers here on the screen. In the Champions League this season, 12 appearances, 5 goals, 2 assists, excellent shooting accuracy, excellent conversion. But a man playing out of position. Consistent reports from Spain that he is not particularly happy at Real Madrid in terms of his squad status, where he starts on the field of play. He wants to be on that left-hand side. I'm only going by what I'm reading, by the way. I'm not talking as if I'm the primary source, just so that nobody gets triggered, either watching or in the comment section. But it's continually linked to a move away from Real Madrid, okay? And one of the first stories that I saw today was put out that says that Arsenal have approached Real Madrid to sign Rodrygo. The Brazilian winger is unhappy at Real Madrid and wants to play on the left. Real Madrid want more than 80 million euros for him, and Arteta is desperate to sign him. There was another report a few hours earlier from Alex Crook, who stated that Arsenal are genuine contenders to sign the Real Madrid winger Rodrygo. He stated, and I quote, "I got a message earlier this week saying keep an eye on Arsenal and Rodrygo." Now, I know that everybody hates the new term that's being connected to this, which is a market opportunity. And that is just a colloquial journalistic term for Arsenal are interested. Arsenal would want him. If Real Madrid decide they are going to sanction a move, they could pounce. And I just find that that's just normal. It isn't a new thing. It's just a new word to describe it. But for me, this is one of those deals for Arsenal that if they land him, it's a game changer. I think he's phenomenal. I really do think he is a phenomenal player. And I think he wants to be the star, but he wants a star in his best position. He can do a good job on the right-hand side, but I think he wants to be that a left-hand sided attacker. I also think he would benefit playing in a team that has a little bit more structure to it. I love Carlo Ancelotti, but his team this season was very unbalanced. His team this season was very much, well, that's the formation. Sit like this when we're out of possession, but kind of attack. And I do think there needs to be an element of freedom in football teams for the entertainment value at the very least. But there still needs to be a part structure. You just can't have the amount of times you'd watch this season and they become so heavily weighted on the left-hand side. You still need that balance in the way you attack. One, if anything, to keep your opponents guessing. But look, I think this would be an interesting deal to keep an eye on. As I say, so many reports linking Arsenal to him, but Arsenal not the only team. Liverpool reportedly heavily interested. Man City's name has been linked to them. Plus, you know that there will be a plethora of teams across the continent and in Saudi Arabia that will be willing to pay exorbitant amounts of money for Rodrygo. But what do you think of him? What do you make of him? If you're an Arsenal fan, is it the player that you want? Is it the player that you want? Give us your thoughts, give us your feelings and your opinions on that in the comments section below. Now, another story that was trending this morning that I was reading across socials was this here, and that is that Gyokeres agrees his contract. And it states that as per Court Offside, Arsenal have reached an agreement with Viktor Gyökeres over a 5-year contract that would reportedly be worth around 9 million a year, or £175,000 per week. Since moving to Sporting from Coventry in 2023, Gyökeres has established himself as one of the best and most lethal forwards in Europe. So there are reports now circulating that that the terms, at least between the player and the club, have been agreed. Now, how this would normally be referred to by some of the kind of the tier one journalists, as a lot of folk on Twitter like to call them, is that personal terms will be no problem. Of course, he hasn't signed that contract yet, but clubs, typically speaking, operate in a way of get the deal with the player agreed first, get their full commitment, then we approach the football club. The Sporting and Gyökeres situation is very interesting this year because there isn't a buyout clause, but a gentleman's agreement. that for a bid between 60 and 70 million, some report 65 and 75, but it's in that ballpark, will be enough for the club to agree to sell him. However, this is where it becomes a very interesting situation. And that is because if a bidding war ensues, and suddenly there is an £80 million bid, then an £85 million bid, what Sporting can do is say, well, look, Liverpool, Spurs have offered 60, Liverpool have offered 75, Arsenal have offered 80, but throwing a name out there, PSG have offered 85. We're accepting the £85 million bid, not the others. That is plausible. So there isn't this minimum of once a £70 million bid is hit, we have to accept all of them and the player can choose. So it's very important for Arsenal. It's very important for any potential suitor of Gyökeres to get his full commitment on board first and foremost, because that often will put off other clubs who are putting off bids if they're not in. For instance, if he says, listen, PSG can bid 200 million, I'm just not going to join them, they may be forced to look elsewhere. So this does feel like a deal that's moving along nicely. When it comes to reading the stories that are circulating, there was a report in Portugal yesterday that said that no official bid has been made yet. I tend to agree with that, but it depends on your context of or your belief more than context of what you think an official bid is. I think when clubs are sending in text messages and unofficial informal emails saying, will this be enough? Would that be enough? I look at all of those things as real bids. I don't care about the fact they haven't followed the sort of the formulated official process that for it to be complete. You're still putting in bids. So it does appear Arsenal are working hard on this deal. Do you think it'll get done? Do you think it'll get over the line? But a recap on our stories this morning. Huijsen to Real Madrid. It was already a done deal. It is now a complete deal and over the line. City ready to bid 50 million euros for Reijnders, and Arsenal genuine contenders for Rodrygo. Will they get it done and over the line? I'd love to hear your thoughts and your opinions on this in the comment section below. Until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again soon. Peace.